Osprey! 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 I swear, man, every single time that gets stuck in my head, guys, because that is such a fun chant to chant when Osprey comes out. But we got AEW Collision to talk about. What is up, everybody? Happy June 1st, Saturday, June 1st. And for those of you who are home on a Saturday night watching pro wrestling, don't worry, you're not alone. So am I. I have literally, it's funny because sometimes I just think to myself, I literally wake up, work, sleep, work, sleep. And today was an example of that. Again, today, woke up, did bust it open. I was so tired because earlier this week, I went to Dynamite and then I also went to a concert. Man, I can't do that anymore, guys. I'm so exhausted from going out 2 nights in 1 week. I'm exhausted, man. I can't do back-to-back activities anymore. So after Busted Open today, I fell asleep and I woke up at, what time did I wake up after the show? I fell asleep after the show, like around 10 in the morning, and then woke up at like 2 or 3 maybe, ate dinner and then watched Collision, and now here I am. So today's been a little bit of a lazy mode day for me. Just podcast, wrestling, sleep, and eat. That's literally what I've been doing. But we got to talk about this show today, guys. It's a pretty simple Collision, nothing too groundbreaking. However, there were some things that, a little bit of stuff to talk about on the show. So we'll cover that. We'll discuss what went down and what was the most noteworthy thing to get into. But first and foremost, as always, I want to thank Sheldon Jackson for gifting 5 DWO memberships here on the channel. Sheldon, man, he's just freaking awesome. He says this is his 14. No, sorry. He needs 14 more streams till he hits 100 straight streams with a gifted membership. Damn, I am so thankful. Thank you so much. We got another super chat here from Roberto Arsenal who says, it's been 13 months since AEW has come to my city. In that span, WWE has been here 3 times. I think I'll fly out to an AEW pay-per-view. Tired of waiting. Roberto, where are you from? Where is it that AEW has not been to in a long time for you? I know that they've been sort of like AEW has sometimes they surprise me by some of the cities that they visit where I'm like, really? That's where they decided to go? And then there's other times where I'm like, oh, cool. Like I'm happy we're back here. They tend to, I don't know, sometimes they have a weird traveling schedule, but it is what it is, right? Like it kind of tripped me out that where were they at this past week? Recently, they were in Palm Springs, or was it today the Palm Springs show? Where was Collision today, guys? It was the Palm Springs show, right? Today for Collision, because I know it was pre-taped on Thursday. So hold on a second. I'm blanking. I'm pretty sure today was freaking Palm Springs. Thank you, Will McLean. You saved my life right now from having to Google that. Yeah, for some reason, it threw me off, guys. Sorry, because I know it was a pre-taped episode, and so that kind of threw me off. But Palm Springs, let me tell you, they were a good crowd today. They were a generous crowd. When AEW had announced that they were running in Palm Springs, I was like, who the hell is going to go to that show? Because Palm Springs is a bunch of older people that I know of. There are a bunch of older people that just chilling in the sun, bathing. Like, who's going to a wrestling show in Palm Springs? Well, it turns out a bunch of people are going to a wrestling show in Palm Springs. And so anyways, when I saw that, I was like, really? They're going to Palm Springs, yet they've never been to Anaheim. Like, what are we doing, AEW? I really, by the way, wish that AEW would have ran Anaheim a whole long time ago. Obviously, now I don't know what the deal is, considering that WWE is running at the Honda Center. Like, that's like their new place that they're going to. I mean, not new because they've been going there for years, but now there seems to be, the relationship given the UFC, and the UFC is always doing shows at the Honda Center. So now it seems like it's WWE area officially, even though it kind of already was, but it had been a while since WWE had been in Anaheim. So there was like a couple of years where like AEW could have sort of taken over the Honda Center if they wanted to. And anyways, so it's kind of surprising to me to say that AEW's been to Palm Springs, but they haven't been to Anaheim. I think they should have done Anaheim a long time ago instead of Ontario, or they could have done Ontario and Anaheim. Anyways, I'm just talking out of my ass now at this point, guys, but we got to get into this show. We got to get into what went down. Anyways, No, kudos to the Palm Springs crowd, honestly, because they were a really good crowd today. And I was honestly surprised because, again, people only go to Palm Springs to sunbathe. And that's what they do at Palm Springs, all right? I've been to Palm Springs like 3 times in my life, and all those times were to sunbathe. Well, except for that one time that I went to go feed giraffes. I literally drove to Palm Springs just to feed giraffes because they have it at some zoo or something that they have in Palm Springs where you can actually feed the giraffes. And I don't know if they do that at the Los Angeles Zoo, but I'd never seen the option at the Los Angeles Zoo. And if I did, maybe it was a little pricier. And I think it was cheaper to do it at Palm Springs. So that's how I ended up in Palm Springs. I was just there to feed giraffes. But anyways, Van Housen Van Life says AEW needs to stop skipping Phoenix. They skipped Phoenix. Phoenix to me is like another place where I would definitely go. And Roberto Arsenal, by the way, was talking about Miami. He says Miami, they keep not going there. He says we're all about nightclubs, strip clubs, football. Wrestling is a hard sell here. All right, interesting. M. Caspito brings up the Pyramid in Long Beach. Well, New Japan does a bunch of shows at the Pyramid. That's where they always go every time they come to Long Beach. I don't mind the Pyramid. It's pretty cool. I've gone now like 3 times, or every time that New Japan has run at the Pyramid, I've gone. But personally, I enjoyed it better when they ran at at the aquarium in Long Beach. There was I don't remember the official name of the building, but it was right next to the Long Beach Aquarium. Or it might have been the Long Beach Aquarium. I'm not even really too sure. Whatever. There was a place there that they ran. And I think that was like the first time New Japan ever ran in California, at least in SoCal, several years ago. And I was at that show. And even though if you're short, you couldn't really see anything if you were a couple rows behind, I personally enjoyed that venue because it was smaller. And so all the people were more crowded, but in a way it made it for a livelier show. And versus the Pyramid, I feel like because of the shape and everything, like the sound, it just like echoes. And so it doesn't feel as intimate as some other places. So I'm not too in love with the Pyramid, but I have a good time. We got Rafael Garcia here who says, while I do stand by the fact Collision feels like 2015 SmackDown, there are questions that I have. Example, why does Killswitch hate Titty City? Wait, what are we talking about with hating Titty City? You're going to have to explain that one to me, Raphael. Was there a joke I didn't get here? Because I have no idea what you're talking about with hating Titty City. I don't even know what Titty City is. What are we talking about here? Explain this one, Raphael. Explain it. All right. In the meantime, man, I just know everybody got that joke except me right now. Whatever. All right, I'll get to it at some point. Let's get into Collision, everybody. I'm going to run things down in a chronological format today because I think that's just what's going to work best for today's show. All right, we kick things off with an FTR promo. And the last time we saw them, of course, in the craziest edition of the Anarchy Arena match ever, the craziest Anarchy in the Arena match ever. And this was very simple. Honestly, there really wasn't too much to this promo. They basically just said that they're going to always be chasing after the Young Bucks. Like, it's never going to be over between them and the Young Bucks. That rivalry is always going to exist. And then there was this one fan, or I don't know if it was one fan or like a couple of fans. It sounded like one specific fan who was booing the living life out of Dax. I mean, this person was booing so loud that I was distracted by whatever it is that Dax was trying to say. And I was distracted by this person's booing. And honestly, I could not stop laughing about it because I thought, damn, that is dedication right there, guys. Dedication. That person who was booing the life out of Dax, that person knows what dedication is all about. But again, it wasn't really like anything too major that really came out of this promo. So nothing much else to add about the FTR stuff, at least in my opinion. There are some things sometimes that I wish that Collision had a little bit more fireworks, especially when it came to promos like this, especially when it comes to what's kicking off the show. If the FTR is going to go out there and talk to the crowd, I kind of want it to be a little bit more exciting, more newsworthy than kind of what we had kick off the show today. Like, I want a hot freaking promo. I didn't think this was the hottest promo to really kick off the show, but it was fine. Again, we hadn't seen them since Anarchy in the Arena. All right, so I know some people are going to find the booing guy annoying. We got Tron in here who says he was being a troll and it was kind of annoying. It depends on how you see it, guys. I like loud, rowdy crowds, but it is weird when it's just like one person and then no one is getting behind that person. But at the same time, when everybody gets quiet, I do find it hilarious when there's that one person who says something and like everybody hears because, well, everybody else was quiet. So there you go. All right. We also had a backstage promo with Jack Perry, and this was technically a promo that they taped right after Double or Nothing when he was on fire. And it was really funny because if you watch, let's say you were to watch this promo on mute, I probably shouldn't say this. Never mind. You know what? I'm not even going to say this because if Reg was here, he was having a field day with this. But all right, fine, I'll say it. If you were watching this promo on mute and you just had Jack Perry there, topless, curly hair, all wet, by the shower, totally gave different vibes, man. Different vibes because he's like doing this with his hair. He's laying on the ground. He's making these faces. Again, if you're watching the promo on mute, totally different thing. Of course, I didn't watch the promo on mute, but this was pretty simple. It was him going out there and talking about being set on fire and doing what he does. And honestly, for me, watching Jack Perry do this promo, I feel like ever since he was set on fire, I feel like I've become a bigger fan of Jack Perry. And I know you guys are probably sitting there going like, really? That's what it took for you to become a fan of Jack Perry? It took for him to be set on fire? Yes, it took Jack Perry being set on fire for me to start looking at the man differently. He just looks a lot, because here's the thing, like when I saw that backstage altercation with him and CM Punk, I was like, damn, bro, like you didn't even fight back, man. Come on. Like I want to see somebody fight back, man. Like be a man, fight. That was sort of my reaction to that. And so I kind of was just like, yeah, Jack Perry, I see him a little bit differently following that. Well, when I saw the man be put on fire with a freaking gun, flamethrower, dude, all of a sudden I'm looking at Jack Perry and I'm going, you know what? I like you now because you were willing to be set on fire. So there you go. That was a quick Jack Perry promo that we got there on all of that. Ender Buckley says it looked like an SNL skit of a hair commercial. Dude, trust me, go back and watch that promo with a different lens. And you will get it. We got Della Common here who says Titty City is a reference to the Iron Savages promo, BTW. Oh, is it because they're a little meaty? Is that what we're talking about here? Oh, okay, because the Iron Savages, I'm not really like too much of a fan. They had the backstage promo. They were talking. I was just like, yeah, whatever they're saying. Wasn't really too interested in it. But I did like Killswitch coming out and literally just attacking them. So there really wasn't anything to me that was the only thing that I thought was interesting was when they said, what did they say? Oh, everybody here must be vegan. Actually, that wasn't even a good line. When he said everyone here must be vegan. And because we're bringing the meat or something. I forgot what it was that he said, but that caught my attention. Either way, I did not care about the Iron Savages here. I'm sorry, guys. So my bad for Titty City. For Titty City Iron Savages. They got taken out by Killswitch, and that was really all that mattered. Also, though, I will say this. I want to see more of that from Killswitch, where he's just backstage beating up people. This was cool because he just goes, takes them out, throws them against like a little, like, I don't know, I think it's like a fence or something. Whatever. It's like a mess backstage, right? They got all this equipment and stuff. And so it kind of made it a little cooler when he's attacking the guys with all of this stuff around. And so I liked that. And I liked him sort of being like, is there anybody more? He's got the full-on dinosaur going, looking like if there's any more people. They need to do more of that with Killswitch, man. Like, remind us, this dude's a crazy ass dinosaur. So there you go. Thank you so much for the Titty City thing. Got it. Sven Big says, like to see Osprey versus Kyle O'Reilly too. That match was match of the night for me. Great show, Denise. That was the match to tune in for. Besides Leo Rush and Roderick Strong, Kyle O'Reilly and Will Ospreay was the match to tune in for. Like, that was the reason that I tuned in to Collision this week. I mean, I was going to tune in primarily because I promoted this post show and I said I was going to be here, and I don't lie to the people, but when I looked at the card today, I was like, Damn, man, like there really isn't a match on here besides the Will Ospreay Kyle O Reilly match that is really screaming, Denise, look at me, come tune in so that you can watch me. There was a lot of matches on this card that I did not care for. And so them doing Lio Rush versus Roderick Strong, which let's get to that right now, was a really nice surprise, guys, a really nice surprise. So I want to start off because there's actually a lot we need to get to in regards to this because Roderick Strong has a pretty big matchup on Dynamite coming up. So basically, here's where we're at. So Lio Rush recently was a surprise on this past Wednesday's AEW Dynamite in Los Angeles, and he was part of the Casino Gauntlet. Now, he's been doing stuff with New Japan. He's been doing stuff on the Indies. Of course, previously, he had been with AEW. Things didn't work out, and that relationship ended. Well, from the looks of it, things look like they have been mended since he's back on the show. He's not officially with AEW, but I can see this becoming a thing where he does officially sign once again with AEW. I can see that. However, as of right now, that has not been, put out there. There hasn't been any of that announced or anything like that. But the fact that they had him on the Collision show in a singles match, I think is a good sign, especially given the really positive feedback that he got from that Casino Gauntlet match. He killed it in that Gauntlet match. It was fun. All those guys killed it in that Gauntlet match. But anyways, so Lio Rush has this match with Roderick Strong, and I tuned in about 30 minutes late to Collision today, and I put out a tweet and asking people how the show had been because I had tuned in late, and literally everybody was like, the Roderick Strong Lio Rush match. And I was like, Lio Rush? I went back to the card and I'm like, did I not see that match announced? No, it was a surprise match and it was really good. There was a couple things that I noticed here that in particular with Roderick Strong, one of the things that we haven't talked about in regards to Roderick, and I noticed this primarily more so during the Will Ospreay match, and then I was sort of reminded of it again this week, was the dude actually has some really good chops. Now, I feel like in pro wrestling, especially talking about right now, just AEW, we see chops in every single match. Every single match at this point has chops. And some of them are good and some of them are not. When you see guys that throw a mean freaking chop, it makes other guys that don't throw as good at chops look weak. And you don't want to see weak chops when you're seeing such good chops by other guys. Anyways, I'm saying all this to say, you know what? I'm putting over Roderick Strong's chops right now because they are good. They are solid and they are loud AF. And I noticed it during the match with Osprey. And then I was reminded of it again during this particular match. So that was something that I definitely enjoyed. The other thing that I enjoyed about this was just Lio Rush, man. He was moving at such a fast pace. He did like 2 dives to the outside. The crowd really got behind him and it was just fun. It was really, really fun. I liked this like springboard stunner that Lio Rush did. I liked the finish where we saw Roderick Strong sort of counter the frog splash that Lio Rush had done, with Strong getting the win in this match. This was fun. This was a match where I actually felt like I cared, and it progressed 2 people. One that's not an official member of the AEW roster, but I feel we're going to continue to see a little bit more often. And also, the other thing that I liked about this was that Lio Rush is coming out and wrestling these matches like if there's no tomorrow. He's wrestling these matches like he's got everything to lose if he doesn't win or give it his all in this particular matchup. And you can tell. So I feel like there's a new pep in his step, and that really stood out to me in this particular match. So I do want to go ahead and put over Lio Rush on that. So Roderick, like I said, had that good match with Osprey. Before that, it really wasn't, come on, guys. Like there wasn't really a lot going on with Roderick. I mean, they were doing all this silly nonsense stuff with the Undisputed Kingdom. It was bleh. It was what it was, right? Well, now Roderick's starting to get his shit together. We're seeing good matches. Cool. All right. Osprey match, great. Lio Rush match, great. Well, apparently he was supposed to be the next guy to come out in the gauntlet. And so he confronts Tony Khan today in a backstage segment and goes off about how he deserves a title shot against Swerve Strickland. So Tony Khan agrees and he makes a match between Roderick Strong versus Swerve Strickland for the AEW World Championship at Dynamite. Now, I saw mixed reactions from this in regards to the people on Twitter, because I look at that and I see what the people say. I see your guys' reaction because it helps me gauge where everybody's at with shit. So I saw a mixed reaction. I saw some people going, all right, this is cool, this Roderick Strong match. But then I saw some people going, Roderick Strong? That's the match that they're doing with Swerve Strickland? I had people writing to me that this felt totally meaningless. I mean, a lot of people just did not like the idea of doing Strong and Swerve for the title on Dynamite. But here's how I'm looking at this, all right? So the way that I'm looking at this is, one, right now, had you told me a couple weeks ago, oh, it's going to be Swerve versus Roderick Strong, I would have been like, really? Like, that's what they're doing? I would have probably had that exact same reaction. However, given the matches that he's recently had, I think this is the best time to do it. Of course, Roderick Strong is not going to defeat Swerve Strickland. We already know that. All right, let's be real. Nobody here is expecting Roderick to defeat Swerve. Let's be real on that. However, we have it fresh in our minds that he is coming off of two really good matches. And I think he's going to have a really good one with Swerve. That's one way to look at it. On top of that, who's the guy that he just had a great match with? Will Ospreay. Who's the guy that Swerve Strickland is supposed to be facing at Forbidden Door? Will Ospreay. Of course, you know, in kayfabe, well, in storyline, they're trying to sell it as, oh, if Roderick Strong wins, then it'll be Roderick Strong versus Will Ospreay at Forbidden Door. Cool. They have to make us think that that's a possibility. It's not going to happen. It's still going to be Swerve Strickland versus Will Ospreay. But the thing that I want to see is like, okay, who can have the better match with Roderick Strong? Is it Will Ospreay or is it Swerve Strickland? That's the way that I see this match, as like, these are two guys that are going to face each other at Forbidden Door. Okay, who can have the better match with this guy that Will Ospreay just wrestled? So I'm actually seeing the pros of having Roderick Strong be a challenger for Swerve on this Dynamite. So I don't think it's like a end-all, be-all type of situation where some people were just not happy about it. I actually think this is the best time to do this match if you were going to do it, and I think it'll come out pretty good. So either way, I'm actually liking what they did with Roderick Strong today, and then I'm also liking what they can possibly be doing with Lio Rush and where this can end up going. So that's where I'm at on this. We got Jason Edwards who says that Swerve promo at the end of the show was lit. I like that too. Swerve closed out the show with a pre-taped promo, and in this promo was very simple. It's sort of him talking about how Swerve is sort of the what do you call him? The Billy Goat. That's his thing. And, you know, he's talking about how he's main evented matches at AEW, how Osprey has not done that. He's talking about their history, both of their history on the Forbidden Door card, talking about the differences. He gets mad that he has been so easily accessible. He did not like that Roderick Strong just barged into Tony while he was in production and forced him to essentially give him this match. He did not like that. So he addresses that. And then he closes it out with a strong statement saying that he's not the same guy that last wrestled Roderick Strong. Roderick Strong cannot bully him. Roderick Strong cannot do all these things because Swerve Strickland is now a different guy. And so he basically says he's going to beat his ass. And I'm like, okay, great. Cool. Really good build for today for Roderick Strong heading into this match on Dynamite. So I actually did like what they did there again. So now let's go ahead and you know what? Let's get into the Osprey Kyle O'Reilly match, because even though I said I was going to go in order, I feel like I've already talked so much about Osprey. I might as well get to this match. So Will Ospreay versus Kyle O'Reilly. for the AEW International Championship. This was Will's first defense of the title because he won it at Double or Nothing. And then he was in the Casino Gauntlet the following Dynamite. So this was his first defense of the title. And again, this was the reason I tuned in for Collision today. This match, I thought it had a really nice build. I think they gave it like 20 something minutes or so because it started at like 7:30 something on TV, and they had like one commercial break, I believe. But this match really progressed very, very, very nicely. It had a really nice build. It peaked. It had a nice outcome. I feel like we got everything we want out of we got everything we wanted out of this match here. So things to talk about, things that really stood out here. There was a particular moment, and they even replayed it like 100 times, which was when Kyle O'Reilly did like a leg sweep of Will Ospreay, tried to leg sweep him, and Will Ospreay instead, out of nowhere, don't even know how, hits him with a freaking enziguri kick to Kyle, and it just looked really freaking awesome. We see a cutter into the freaking we see a cutter go down. We see a triangle chokehold. Sorry about that, guys. There was a lot that happened at the tail end of this match. We see 2 hidden blades from Will Ospreay. I mean, dude, this match absolutely delivered. This was Kyle O'Reilly's best match since he's came back to AEW. And of course, like, you know, Kyle O'Reilly went through, you know, he was out for such a long time. He didn't even know if he was going to come back. He has spoken about this. And so for him to come back and sort of he's been consistently wrestling on the show, and he's been fine. He's been having good matches, but I think this was the one. This was the one that made you go, there it is. There it is for Kyle O'Reilly. Like, this was the match to do. So good match, all of that. What I want to talk about, though, in particular, to Osprey, is that he is the AEW International Champion. The best international champion that we've had in AEW is Orange Cassidy. Orange Cassidy made that freaking belt. And Will Ospreay was even asked about Orange Cassidy being a champion and having had like over 25 something defenses of the title with so many different opponents, all different types of wrestlers. And it clearly looks like Will Ospreay wants to do the exact same thing with the International Championship. Again, you guys can watch the video. It's here on the channel, or you can watch the review that I did with Reg, where we talk about what we think is going to go down between Swerve and Will Ospreay at Forbidden Door. I am running under the assumption that Swerve is going to defeat Will Ospreay. So I am running under the assumption that we are still going to be seeing Ospreay just freaking kill it with the AEW International Championship. And I'm expecting there to be a ton of matches, and I'm expecting this reign to sort of go similar to the way that Orange Cassidy did the International Championship run, where he was just facing all different guys. And I think that's what we're going to get out of Will Ospreay here. So I feel like that's the exciting part, because we just want to see Will Ospreay wrestle a bunch of people. And so that's really where I'm at with this. I mean, there's only so much you can say. This was a good match, and we got what we expected out of it. Hey, Chris Ludek, the loaded Chris Ludek says, hey, Denise, hope you're doing well. It's been a while, Chris. I hope you're doing well too. Thank you so much for being a member for the last 7 months here on the DWL. Much appreciated, man. Chris Ludek also says, I see why CM Punk said AEW only focuses on having good matches. While the Osprey versus Kyle O'Reilly match was good, I'd like to see more build and storytelling to the lead up to it. Of course, and that is something that I think Collision has suffered with for a while now, where I don't think there's like storylines in Collision that really make you think, oh, I got to tune in because I got to keep up with the storyline. I don't really feel that way about Collision, and I think that's something that Collision needs to work on, where they need to give you a reason to tune in every week. Because again, going back to my favorite period of Collision was when we had CM Punk on the show. I tuned into Collision because I knew I was going to see CM Punk on the show. I knew I was going to see this program with him and Ricky Starks. I knew I was going to see whatever he was doing with FTR, all of that. Of course, that didn't last as long as we thought that it was going to last. Shit happens, shit went down. But that was the last time that I truly felt the need to absolutely tune in to Collision, because at that time we were being offered something by Collision that we weren't seeing on Dynamite. And I feel like that's what's missing right now, is that there's nothing really that Collision is giving us that Dynamite isn't giving us. I remember when Collision first started and everybody was like, oh my God, this feels like an entirely different show. It doesn't even feel like this is Tony Khan's show. It was Tony Khan's show. He was just doing it a little bit different. And I do want to see and feel like that again, because when we were getting like these really good wrestling matches, remember when we had the tournament and we were getting all of those kick-ass matches on Collision, all of that, I miss all of that. And that has been the thing where I hope that they find their groove once again with Collision, where they give you a reason to say, this is why you need to tune in every week. Because again, I've said this a million times, tuning into Collision, it's like, will I or will I not win the lottery this week? You know what I mean? Are my numbers lucky this week, or am I not going to get shit this week? That is what it feels like every week to tune into Collision. It's either I love the show or shit, the show could have been better or whatever else. So again, they need to find the thing that makes Collision stand on its own 2 feet. Because right now, the only show that you absolutely cannot miss when it comes to AEW programming is Dynamite. That is a show you do not miss. Collision, you miss a couple of episodes, no big deal, no problem. Tune into my post show and you'll find out what happened. But you know what I'm saying? They need to find their own identity. Chris Ludek, thank you so much for the super chat. Appreciate you, my friend, for sending that in. All right, so let's keep this going. We need to talk about some of the other stuff. Everything else is a little bit on the bit lower on the scale here. We sort of talked about like the big stuff already, but here we go. We'll kind of just run through this. We got Daniel Garcia and Katsuyori Shibata defeated the Workhorsemen, Anthony Henry and JD Drake. The most impressive thing from this match was JD Drake doing a moonsault. Now, JD Drake is a meaty dude. He's a meaty dude, and he got a really good reaction to that moonsault that he did. Of course, Daniel and Shibata, they get the win. They are so freaking different. Like, their personalities are not the same whatsoever, but it works. I know Shibata has been doing the comedy stuff with the telephone and the little messages, and then Daniel Garcia has his dance. There was a little bit of comedy in this match, and I think that it worked what they did here. When I saw this match on paper, I was like, oh my God, I do not want to sit through this match. That was my honest to God reaction. And I will tell you that I did enjoy what they did here because they had fun with it. And I think that that's the best that you can get that we got here. So moving on, we had Chris and Stokely do a backstage promo. Really simple. Chris Statlander, we're starting to see and hear a lot more of her now that she is feuding with Willow Nightingale. We have not seen Willow Nightingale since Double or Nothing. I'm not sure if she's going to be on this week's Dynamite. I don't think they've promoted her on this week's Dynamite, so I'm not too sure. But basically, they just said they had a gift for her, and the gift ended up being trash because they say she's trash. And I'm loving this. There is nothing worse than former friends who you thought cared about you, people you bonded with, people you went to Chuck E. Cheese with, and all of these little moments that they had as a group together, for them to all of a sudden turn on you and start saying the most awful things about you. It hurts. It hurts, man. And that's what I like about this story. I like how mean they are being to Willow Nightingale because it just makes you garner so much more sympathy for her, because I feel like all of us can sort of put ourselves in that situation and be like, damn, what would happen if our very own friends turned on us and started saying all of these terrible things? Because then you start to wonder, was the friendship ever real? Did they even like me? And you start to feel like shit. And that's what we're seeing unfold for Willow Nightingale at the moment. And so for that reason, I'm digging the storyline. I cannot wait to see Willow come back, because the last time we saw Willow, that girl was getting crazy reactions. And her match with Mercedes Moné had one of the loudest reactions throughout the entire match, aside from Anarchy in the arena. They had a louder reaction than freaking Will Ospreay and Roderick Strong, and that match had a really loud reaction. They had a louder reaction than freaking Swerve and Christian Cage. Again, the only thing they did not top was Anarchy in the arena. And to be fair, we saw a man get on fire. We saw another man be turned upside down and hanging from the ceiling. So yeah, that's a little tough to beat, but no. So I can't wait to see Willow Nightingale return and see what kind of reaction that she is going to be getting on the show. All right, the next thing we got to talk about, Thunder Rosa defeating Reina Dorada. So this one here, I really did not care too much for the match. I thought the match could have been a lot stronger. It wasn't as clean. So I really wasn't too crazy about this match here. This was my first time seeing Reina Dorada. I had not seen her perform before. I know that she was on Triple Mania, and I did watch a little bit of that show. She was on the 8-woman tag. However, because there was, so many women in there, I guess I didn't really notice her too much. So anyways, she went out there, she did her thing. She kicked out to the Tijuana Bomb, which was probably the most the biggest moment that she actually kicked out to it. But then eventually Thunder Rosa gets her into a submission and she taps out. I actually think the finish should have been following that Tijuana Bomb. I don't think she should have kicked out of the Tijuana Bomb. I would have preferred that finish over the submission finish, only because I didn't think there was a reason for Reina to actually kick out to Thunder Rosa's Tijuana Bomb. Everything that led up to it did not make me feel like she should kick out to that. And so that was my only thing. I would have just ended it after the Tijuana Bomb. And then she did have an interesting mask. I did not love it, actually. It was the Frida Kahlo mask, which always loved seeing Frida Kahlo. My mom's such a big fan of Frida Kahlo. She's iconic. I did not love the mask, though. It was probably one of my least favorite masks that I've seen. So it was sort of distracting for me. And I love masks, as most of you guys know, if you cannot tell by some of the masks that I have back here. So there's nothing that I love more than a beautiful mask. And when a mask is not beautiful, it really kind of bugs me a little bit. So I was like, oh, I just don't like the mask. I just didn't like it. So anyways, I love seeing the homage to Frida Kahlo, but I wasn't crazy about the mask design itself. So I don't know. I hope she kind of switches it up just a little bit, just to make it a little bit more prettier, the mask. Anyways, we had another match with the Gates of Agony against some jobbers. We had Danny G, Danny Rose, and KM were their names. This was a very, very quick squash. I think it was Danny G, or it might have been Danny Rose, one of the Dannys. They threw up in the air, brought him back down like he was a blanket, and pinned him 1, 2, 3. There really was not much to this other than the Gates of Agony looking pretty massive during this. So nothing much else to add about that. We had Toni Storm, who did another backstage promo. And Toni Storm, man, I mean, she's always popping us left and right, man. Also, if you haven't yet, head on over to my Instagram account, because I posted a short of Toni Storm basically making Tony Khan really uncomfortable, and Hiroshi Tanahashi. And she's like reading this very erotic, steamy story. And Instagram actually flagged it for being inappropriate, but I requested that they review it, and they took off the violation on it. So thank you, Instagram, for that. Because at first, I guess Instagram thought it was too much. They thought it was way too much for their platform. So go watch that video. Toni Storm also added it to her Instagram, so you guys can see it on either page. But it's pretty damn hilarious, because I captured Tony Khan's and Hiroshi Tanahashi's reactions. And Toni Storm actually puts her hands on Tony. And Tony's like, ooh, like you can tell he doesn't know how to act. And then Tanahashi looks like he's so confused during this. He's like wondering whether or not he should even be looking, or if he should be covering his eyes, or what. Either way, it's really funny. Check it out. But today's promo, really simple. The biggest, or rather the funniest line, was when she said that her forbidden door is wide open. I like these play on words, guys. I love these play on words. All right, so moving on from here, we have Claudio Castagnoli versus Johnny TV. Now, this one here, on paper, I was not interested either. This was another match that on paper I just wasn't sold on. However, I tuned in, and this was another match where I kept thinking, wow, this crowd is really generous. They were into the story of this entire match, seeing Taya get involved multiple times, trying to help her man out, Johnny TV, get the win. Eventually, Claudio Castagnoli hits the big swing on Johnny TV and gets the win. But this was fun. It's really hard sometimes to get into these matches because like they haven't really been doing anything with Johnny TV. Like I don't even know what's going on with Johnny TV and Taya Valkyrie. Like legitimately, I don't know what their deal is on the show. And I watch all the time, but I don't know what's going on with Johnny TV. I know they got their reality show, but that's about the extent of it all. So sometimes it's a little hard to get into these matches when you don't really know what's going on with certain people. And then Claudio Castagnoli, he's just going out there and having good matches. He's still part of the BCC, but there really isn't a big story with him either. So again, these are just two guys going out there and having a match. It was fun, but there really wasn't too much in terms of a story heading into it, but they made a story in the actual matchup. So that's why it ended up being so much better than what you probably thought it was going to be originally. So it worked out here. Another match that I kind of had a little problem, sort of getting into, and it was the next match that we saw, which was the Shane Taylor Promotions, Lee Moriarty and Shane Taylor versus the West Coast Wrecking Crew, Jarrell Nelson and Royce Isaacs. The reason why I kind of had a little bit of a hard time getting involved in this match too is also because what is going on with Shane Taylor Promotions? Like, what are they doing on the show? I know they're always on. They somehow find themselves always on, but what is the story with them? And then the West Coast Wrecking Crew, well, obviously, they've been doing a lot more in New Japan. I've actually seen and worked with them on a lot of indie shows, so I do know Jarrell Nelson and Royce Isaacs. They've been hustling in the independents now for a while. They've been a tag team for a while, so I was happy to see them on the card to get this matchup. But I think for people that are constantly watching Collision, it does you obviously want to know just a little bit more. But of course, given that we're heading into Forbidden Door, it's cool to see some of the the people that you are familiar with seeing on New Japan or New Japan Strong pop up here on the show. So a cool opportunity for both of these guys. They had a fun match. Shane Taylor gets the win. Again, the crowd was very giving in this match. In a non-giving crowd, I think this match would have not hit as much, but because the crowd got invested in it, it made you stay paying attention throughout the entire thing. So it ended up working out for what it was. But there you go, man. All right, so that, my friends, was AEW Collision for this week. I know the Collision promo, excuse me, not promos. I don't know why I'm calling them promos. My AEW Collision post shows tend to be a little bit shorter, guys, but it is what it is. It's not Dynamite, so there aren't really all of these crazy stories going down, but I do hope we eventually get to that period where they give us a little bit more to work with on Collision. We got Roberto Arsenal here who says, AEW has the New Japan title with Moxley. It's only fair for someone from Japan gets an AEW bout. Mina Shirakawa should be Tony, with Mariah sliding in with Mina. So I see what you're saying. I would kind of hate that. I wouldn't want to see somebody from New Japan with an AEW championship bout. I think the situation's just a lot different with New Japan in the sense that they haven't built big stars to put that AEW championship on. That's why it's on I'm sorry, not the AEW championship on, excuse me, the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship on, because they don't got like too many big stars. So that's why Jon Moxley has a title versus AEW. It's a little bit different. They have people to put titles on. So I feel it's just a different case scenario. And so I wouldn't want to see someone that wasn't part of the All Elite roster holding an AEW championship belt. I just would not like that. And then also I feel like it's very, very, very obvious that we're going in the direction of Toni Storm and Mariah May. And if anyone's taking the title off of Toni Storm, it's Mariah May. However, I am interested to see in how Mina is going to play into all of this because of the connection with Tony and Mina and Tony and sorry, not Tony and Mina, Mariah and Mina, and the connection between Mariah and Tony. And so you're going to sort of you might see her be a little bit torn on who she's who is she most loyal to? Is it Tony Storm? Is it Mina? Who is it? So I do think that will play a huge part into it, but I am expecting this to be the end game being Mariah May and Tony Storm. So that's where I'm at with that there. Roberto Arsenal, thank you so much for the super chat. Alrighty, everybody. That, my friends, was the AEW Collision post show. As always, I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in to the show. I wanted to make sure I got everything. I did. I got everything. I got all the super chats. I did it. Alrighty, guys. Before I go, if you have not subscribed to this channel and you're brand new here, please do. I am like 40-something subscribers away from hitting 160,000 subscribers. So if you haven't yet, click that subscribe button and join up here. And the next post show that you'll be seeing on here is I will be back on Tuesday to chat some NXT. NXT has a lot of buzz around it right now. So if you guys want to tune in for that and see what's going on, you can. And if not, I'll be back here on Wednesday with Reg for AEW Dynamite Conversation, as well as more post shows throughout the week. Tomorrow morning, I will be dropping an interview, so keep an eye out for that. And then in case you missed it, I recently did an interview with Matt Hardy. That was the interview that I wrapped last week's show early for. So if you guys want to finish that story, you can go ahead and check out that interview with Matt Hardy. We touch on his time in AEW. We talk about what he's doing right now with TNA. We talk about broken Matt Hardy. We talk about all of the cinematic stuff that he's done. And we also talk about his career in WWE and the iconic TLC matches. So make sure to give that one some love as well. Alrighty, everybody, that's a wrap for me, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Bye, everyone. Have a